I don't really know how to feel right now. I don't know what to think. My adrenaline's spiking a bit because we're actually patrolling the area. And when I know that danger and threats are imminent in this place, I feel like I'm kind of fearing for my life right now. This is a hot spot for police, rival factions. Oi! No. I'm Ashley Kane, former pro footballer, turned influencer and extreme ultra athlete. Life's good now, but where I grew up, I could have easily turned to a life of crime. If you're raised in some of the world's toughest neighborhoods, what lengths will people go to in order to survive?
Você tem que entrar sabendo que essa vida tá pra matar e pra morrer.
To find out, I'm traveling to some of the planet's most hostile places. Whoa, what the f is going on? To meet those who have chosen a life of extreme criminality. No judgment, no agenda.
You really want to kill someone, or blow them up?
To do that, I'm gonna have to win their trust and get deep into their world. I may not condone what they do to get by.
10, 20, 50.
But by walking in their shoes, can I at least understand them? Rio, Brazil, home to beautiful beaches, beautiful women, and the most attractive form of the beautiful game. But there's a deadly dark side to this city of nearly 12 million people. In poor favelas where organised crime groups are at war, every day bullets fly as rival factions fight each other and law enforcement to maintain and expand their drug and extortion empires. This is the harsh reality for many of the 1.7 million people here, around 15% of Metro Rio's population. Favelas developed after the abolition of slavery in 1888, when freed people were forced to create makeshift homes on hillsides on the outskirts of the city. During the cocaine boom in the 80s, cartels started to control these communities as Brazil became the main transit point in South America for drugs bound for Europe and the USA. Today, there are more than 1,300 favelas in metropolitan Rio. In the past 16 years, territory controlled by the organised crime groups in Rio has more than doubled. I want to get under the skin of this city, to understand life in the favelas ruled by violent OCGs and see if young men can escape the grip of cartels or militias. To do that, I need access to the favelas, but it's gonna be dangerous. I'm on the way to meet Adam, an entrepreneur based in Vijagat, which is one of very few tourist-friendly favelas. So for me, it's a good and safe place to start. Adam has been in Brazil for 12 years, living and working in favelas on social programs that help steer young men away from crime.
Welcome to Rio, brother.
Oh, man. I've marveled over Brazil since being a kid, you know. I've always kind of fantasized about being here. You're in and amongst it, you're immersed in here, you're living in a place where anything could happen. So how did you navigate that in the first place?
So I started going and visiting a different favela every single week, and I started creating connections and interviewing everyone I met in the favela. And basically over the last decade, I visited over 150 favelas across Rio.
You know, you've been to 150 favelas.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy, by the way. Can you tell me a little bit more, you know, what the favela's like?
The favela is almost seen as a place that's subhuman. Life for people in the favela is not easy. You got to worry about, you know, trying to get a job, then you can't get a job because you're black, you know, or you don't have education, or you came from the wrong favela. So when you're living in this constant state of having to try to fight for your existence, fight for your right, you know, fight for your survival, you got to be tough.
Can you try and explain to me, from your experiences and what you know, how dangerous it is here?
The big problem is that you have three different competitors, right? All competing for the same territory. You have the CV, which is the Red Command, the TCP, which is like the Third Command, and then you have the militias, which are ex-military officials who have basically organized criminal structures in order to take over different areas of the city where historically the drug trafficking cartels were at.
How violent and deadly does it get, you know, when these guys cross paths?
It's bad. It's war. You have people who are heavily armed competing for the same territory with no fear of death. The real conflict happens is when these forces all collide in the same territory. They're sending the military in, sometimes with tanks and soldiers. It's like warfare. And this is it. You know, Rio lives in this state of war, unfortunately, at the same time that
It looks like this.
Yeah.
I know that access here is going to be difficult. I also know that access here is going to be very dangerous. But I feel like I need to have access in the favelas, man.
So you have favelas where there is no police. So those ones are completely dominated by the gangs themselves, and that's where you have to be much more careful. So you have the South Zone of Rio, which there's a lot of favelas, but they're controlled by one gang primarily, which is the CV, the Red Command. I can connect you to some people there, so you can go in there and get a deeper understanding, get a connection with what the real essence of Rio is like. You know, I mean, I think it's important, but are you ready for that?
To say, am I ready? You never know till you walk in there. But I feel like it's something that I really want to do. It's something I really need to do. So this is a proper, notorious, no-go zone favela.
Oh, yeah.
Adam is organising access to the oldest and most powerful organised crime group in Rio, the CV, or Red Command, which controls over half of the favelas in the city. The CV was founded in Rio's prison system in the late 1970s. It's an OCG that run their drug trade like a cartel. I'm hoping that Adam's contact can help me connect with the young men on the inside of this notoriously violent trafficking faction and help me understand why they get involved with cartels. I'm on the way to meet Jordan, who is the owner of a record label, D23, in one of Rio's most dangerous favelas. Now, this place is categorically a no-go zone for outsiders because of the danger that is in there. So right at this moment in time, I'm really anxious and my adrenaline is spiking through the roof. I've been told that no documentary teams have been allowed into this favela to film before, so security's gonna be tight and we need to be on guard. So we just arrived at Villa Kennedy. There's a guy with a mask, a gun. I think he's radioing through now, so, you know, we have permission, to carry on going. I mean, I'm walking up this street now in the favelas, and there's about a whole group of people holding big weapons, whether it's AK-47s or AR-15s or whatever it is. It's not the most comfortable environment. Tudo bem? I'm trying to say hello and be polite, because honestly, I feel completely out of my depth. How are you, Jordan, brother? You okay? Nice to meet you. 29-year-old Jordan runs a studio that supports young people here to get into the music industry. I'm hoping he can give me an insight into what life's like growing up in a cartel-controlled favela.
É aqui que fica o centro da Vila Kennedy. Aqui é a Vila Kennedy, cara. A única favela que corta os dois lados da Brasil. Passando aquela... Ali tem uma facção rival, a facção que atua. Vira e mexe, tem guerras ali que acontecem entre a facção daqui com a facção do lado de lá.
When I walked in, you know, I went through one barricade, AK-47s, another barricade, what looked like AR-15s, AK-47s, and then you're telling me that there's a rival cartel there. How dangerous can it be?
Quando tem dias realmente de operação policial ou de alguma guerra que fica difícil de ir e vir. E realmente há um perigo muito grande quando acontece esses dias e já sobrou muito para pessoas que não tem nada a ver com o crime, ou com a polícia, ou com a facção rival.
It turns out Jordan's pretty well connected when it comes to the cartel. His dad is the prominent CV boss of this favela. As I stand here, you're surrounded by potential threats, danger, and also that criminality. But meeting you, you're obviously doing something different, so I'm really interested to understand your story.
Eu tenho pai que ele é envolvido no crime, mesmo antes de eu nascer. E praticamente todos os roteiros que me levavam a estar nessa vida e que, graças a Deus, eu consegui dar um contorno nisso. Né? Eu trilhei outros caminhos e vim pro lado da música, que, graças a Deus, muita gente me olhava e já lidava isso como um herdeiro do crime.
Have you ever faced any potential danger or threats or anything worse, you know, as a result of being your father's son?
Teve uma vez que botaram uma arma na minha cabeça. Um pouco mais velho, depois eu fui sequestrado. E eu tinha, se eu não me engano, 21 anos de idade.
It's a crazy story. Can you tell me how then you get the people into music and prevent people from doing crime?
É muito difícil a pessoa não entrar por conta da realidade que ela enfrenta, muitas das vezes da fome mesmo. As oportunidades são muito escassas onde a gente mora. Quando a gente viu a quantidade de gente que estavam aqui sem essa ajuda mínima de um estúdio para gravar. E é ali que deu o pontapé de começar a fazer esse meio social daqui. Então a gente começou com um estúdio de música, abraçando todo mundo que a gente poderia aqui dentro da comunidade. Cara, a gente tem aula de DJs, aula de fotografia. A gente já conseguiu formar artistas que hoje...
But doesn't that cause a bit of conflict? Because surely your dad would be putting people into criminality, and surely with this place you're trying to pull people out of criminality.
A nossa história do meu pai, a gente entra toda hora um na história do outro. Eu acho que da forma dele pensar também, independente da vida que ele leva, que ele tem a mente muito aberta. E no final eu sinto que ele fica contente e fica até orgulhoso de eu poder estar fazendo isso por alguém também. Realmente ele tem a vida dele, eu tenho a minha, faço trabalhos em prol de melhoria de vida para as pessoas realmente. Eu sou a prova viva de que tem como sim crescer nesse lugar, mas não se envolver.
Fucking inspiring, by the way. Inspiring what you're trying to do. I respect that. Given who Jordan's dad is, it's kudos to him for choosing a different path. But I wonder how easy it would be to defy the cartel if he didn't have his father's protection. I seem to have won his trust, and my link up with him has already opened doors. As we prepare to leave the favela, I'm approached by a group of masked young men with guns, active members of the CV cartel. It's the first time that I'm face to face with the kind of guys I've come here to meet. The CV members offered to give me a tour of their territory. As I walked out, I got approached by all these guys. I chose to be respectful. Even though they were with guns, I wasn't scared. And they've invited me to jump on the back of these bikes. Now I got told to do as I get told when I come into the favelas. So I can't turn this opportunity down. What is going on? On the back of bikes with AR-15s, AK-47s. Oh my God. Ashley Kane, you are a madman. We ride towards the borders of Villa Kennedy.
Aqui é guerra. Fala que nós temos
He was just telling me then, yeah, where we just rode past, there's a rival faction on the other side, and he said that it's like war.
Ai, para aí!
After spending time with the armed CV guys, I start to appreciate how volatile the situation is between rival factions. Favelas, especially those from post-slavery settlements, face poor education, high unemployment, and lack of long-term investment. The Brazilian government's failure to invest in education, healthcare, and infrastructure traps communities in poverty. Ineffective policies and underfunded schools perpetuate inequality, leaving youngsters vulnerable to crime and exploitation. The cartels have an iron grip in these areas, and the most lucrative way for young men to earn cash is through the drugs trade, known in the favelas as the traffic. Adam's arranged for me to meet with some guys to give me an insight into why they opted for a life in the traffic, but it means that I have to go onto new turf. I'm off to a different favela, which is actually the rival favela from Villa Kennedy, where I was last at. Now, I managed to have a contact in Villa Kennedy, Jordan, D23, which made things a lot easier and a lot less hostile. But things are very different here because I know nobody. I've been given coordinates to a drug shop that I'm told is open 24/7. It's run by the TCP, the main rival cartel to the CV faction I met earlier. I know that things change when the light goes down in these kind of places. I mean, I'm interested to go to the drug shop because I want to really understand how these young men live and how difficult it would be to escape the grasp of cartels and criminality in these places. Because I know that if I was here, I wouldn't want to be around the kind of dangers that they face on a day-to-day basis. Tudo bem, irmão? Bom dia, irmão. I appreciate you guys meeting me today, you know, it means a lot. This is absolutely crazy. This cannot be legal, so how come you guys are allowed to stand here and sell it without no trouble?
A polícia nós sabe driblar ela, entendeu? Nossa, é uma comunidade, né, mano? É igual mercado. Mercado livre. E nós vende crack, pó. São drogas assim. Maconha, vende tudo. Mostra pra ele aqui. Ó, isso aqui, ó, crack. Aí o pó. Vários preços variáveis, entendeu? Vai lá, coisa, tu pode.
As I was talking to these guys, there's a sale of drugs going down right now. These guys aren't stopping business for anything. And again, another one. I mean, these guys have got no trouble having business here in the favelas. It seems like these guys will be open all day, every single day, and there is a lot of custom. I just can't believe that there is no fear of anything happening to them, you know, with it being so available on the streets. Brother, in UK, there's drugs, but not out on the streets so available at all times of the day. In UK, there's weapons, but not wrapped around people's shoulders walking around. So I want to know, like, do the favelas control themselves? Are they a law amongst themselves, you know?
Aqui manda quem pode, obedece quem tem juízo, entendeu? Entendeu? A gente só cumpre a ordem do dono. Se o dono falar que é pra ficar na mesa, não vai ficar na mesa e em qualquer favela do Rio de Janeiro é assim. Assim vai ser, entendeu? Pode vir um comando vermelho qualquer momento, qualquer hora que nós vai lutar e vai guerrear, o tiro vai comer, a bala vai cantar.
At what age do people start doing what you're doing now?
De 13. Olha, aí vamos fazer a tua escolha nessa vida. Mas você tem que entrar sabendo que essa vida tá pra matar e pra morrer. Então cada tem o direito de escolha.
I'm about to have my third child yet, and I'm trying to do everything in my life to stay as safe as I possibly can so I can be around for my children. Surely there's got to be some alternatives to make money to keep you guys safer and to keep your kids safer.
Cada tem filho, tem família. Nós temos que levar o sustento. Se o governo não abrir, quando eu digo governo, as empresas que não dão um trabalho, não dão uma condição, então, entendeu? Sabe, vou abraçar. A gente não quer nada disso para os nossos filhos, entendeu? Então nós vamos vender para buscar sustento para a nossa família, entendeu? Se o Estado não abre a porta, o prato tá abraço, então...
I don't know what to say about this place. It's mind-boggling. You don't see this anywhere else that you go. 24/7 drug shops. People walking around in the streets with guns, Fearless in the face of death, yet loving and welcoming to a stranger like me. I don't think I'll ever truly be able to understand what goes on here in the favelas in Brazil, but I'm trying to get an idea. And knowing how dangerous every day can be on these streets here is absolutely insane. Brazil is a key hub for drug trafficking, with crime groups importing cocaine from Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia, and marijuana from Paraguay. High domestic use and international demand fuel violence in the favelas. The war between TCP and CV has been raging since the 90s, escalating in recent years as both groups fight to expand their territories and control the lucrative drug market. I want to experience life on the front line of the battle between the warring cartels and understand its impact on the young men caught in it. My visit to a drug shop has opened doors with the TCP cartel, and they've allowed me to meet TikTok, a 20-year-old lookout. His job is to patrol the favela and watch for rival factions stepping on TCP's turf. This is my first chance to spend time with a young man on the front line and understand why he's under the cartel's grip. Tudo bem, irmão?
Mano, boa noite.
Good to see you, man. Thank you for agreeing to meet me. When I think of 20-year-olds now, I think of my little cousins, you know, who I still think are young boys, but, you know, you're a big man with a big weapon, with big responsibilities. Can you tell me what is there to protect? Because I'm guessing that it's worth a lot, being as you need those kind of weapons.
Para defender a facção, porque conforme eu tô aqui, no tráfico todo mundo tem uma função, eu faço a segurança. Então, de certa forma, isso daqui é para a segurança de todo mundo.
What would you say was the main reason why you joined the cartel?
Quando eu tinha 15 para 16 anos, eu comecei a parar perto de certas companhias. Quando meu pai me botou para fora de casa, né? E a partir do ponto ali que eu já não estava ligando mais para nada. E foi nessa época que eu já comecei a virar vapor. No caso, comecei a vender nas lojas. Nessa época que eu pude falar assim, agora eu sou da facção. Dependendo só de mim mesmo. Não espero nada de ninguém.
I'm guessing that this is where you live now, but is this where you grew up, you know, when you lived with your family as well?
Não fui nascido na favela. Nasci num bairro mais nobre, onde não tinha tráfico, não tinha nada desse tipo.
You kind of shocked me there by telling me that you grew up in a relatively middle-class neighborhood. How much do you get paid to do this job?
R$500 na quinzena.
Fucking hell, man. £70 every fortnight to do this. It's absolutely crazy.
Tu tá pensando assim, só R$500. Mas uma hora ou outra o jogo pode virar, a gente pode estar lá em cima, a gente pode ganhar uma condição. A gente já entra no crime na ambição de crescer, no caso, também, né? Ter oportunidade.
TikTok, can you tell me, are you prepared to kill?
Todo mundo que tá na vida do crime tá preparado pra matar e pra morrer, chefe.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Sim. Mas é algo que, tipo assim, eu não quero entrar no assunto. Não. Prefiro não comentar.
Okay, that's completely fine. I can't believe that TikTok is prepared to kill or be killed for 35 quid a week just to potentially move up the cartel hierarchy. My questions about killing changes the mood with TikTok, but I'm keen to stay with him as he starts his shift to check if the police or any rival factions have infiltrated TCP turf. I just want to kind of see a little bit more about what you do, you know, when you patrol and have a look around. Is that okay with you?
Lógico, vamos conhecer a comunidade.
This is fucking crazy, by the way. I don't really know how to feel right now. I don't know what to think. My adrenaline's spiking a bit because we're actually patrolling the area. And when I know that danger and threats are imminent in this place, I feel like I'm kind of fearing for my life right now. My objective was to come in here, meet young men in these environments and be as immersive as I can be. It doesn't get more real than what's going on now. As we approach the borders, TikTok is getting more and more edgy and is in constant radio contact with his team. At home in the UK, they play Call of Duty. Out here in the favelas in Brazil, they do this shit for real.
Aqui já é a entrada da favela. Ali já é pista, fala pra ele. Ali já passa a polícia, fala pra ele aí, pai.
TikTok spots a police patrol in the distance. Rio's police are known to shoot first and ask questions later. This is a hot spot for police, rival factions. It's a danger zone right here. Oi, fucking hell.
Podemos voltar, podemos voltar.
What the fuck? My heart jumps as a father holding his toddler steps out into TikTok's line of fire. The police seem to be holding their position on the perimeter, and we move on. But TikTok's leading me into even more dangerous ground.
Ali já é fora da favela. É fora do meu território. É uma área onde a gente não habita, onde a gente não fica armado. Não tem monitoração de rádio. Então é uma área vulnerável.
Wait, what the fuck is going on? There's gunshots that went off then. I don't even know where we should follow now.
Pra falar vai que eu vou, hein?
TikTok. Oh, he's here. I'm gonna get beyond this wall now. It's an open space. He said that this is a very vulnerable area, and we've heard gunshots go off. I think it's best that we stay behind this bricks and this steel. This is, gang, this is fucking real. I don't feel too comfortable at the minute, if I'm honest. People die in these places every single day. This ain't a fucking game. This ain't pretend. This is real life.
Na escuta aí, na escuta. Deu uma batida aqui na beira das favelas, meus amigos. Correto, vou voltar pra lá.
TikTok, you all good?
Tá tudo bem, TikTok? Aham. Aí tem que voltar pra lá também, que tipo assim.
We're ordered back into the favela for our own safety. With no kids to protect or provide for, I do not know why you would choose to live this life. Experiencing that and feeling the adrenaline and the nerves and the fear that I felt, I can't comprehend waking up every single morning and having to do that. For the money that he gets paid, for the danger he has to face, and also for the choices that he had to potentially avoid it. It's mad how even a middle-class kid like TikTok can get drawn into the cartels. I want to understand why all of these young guys at the bottom end of the drug industry are so drawn into climbing up the cartel ladder. TikTok's a foot soldier, putting his life on the line to protect the multi-million-dollar drug trade that operates openly within the favela. It's dealing on an industrial scale. I want to get inside one of these operations and get access to the bosses controlling the traffic. I need to see the workings of these OCGs to really understand their pull. My new TCP contacts have reached out to one of their stash house managers who's willing to meet. All I've been told is that the manager is known as Juno. Oi, tudo bem? Bom dia, irmão. Bom dia, irmão. Bom dia, irmão. Bom dia, irmão. Please, may I sit down? Now, I see you guys are busy at work. Can you tell me what drugs are here?
Aqui, no caso, esse aqui é o skunk, que a gente pega ele tablete. Aqui dentro é o Columbia Gold. Columbia Gold. No caso, é o mais famosinho, é o Columbia Gold, tá ligado?
And can you tell me, like, how much weight of this skunk did you start with today? And how many vials do you need to pack out?
4 quilos por dia. Por dia, trabalha 4 quilos aqui. Mais ou menos 3 mil potinhos desse aqui a gente usa. Pra trabalhar esses 4 quilos. 3 mil potinhos. A gente finaliza o dia.
Well, so 4 kilos a day and 3,000 vials. That is absolutely insane. So, how long did it take you to pack out 3,000 vials?
12 horas por dia. Rotina, todo dia. Só um dia de folga na semana, muito mal. Porque não pode parar.
Wow, you literally are grafters.
Tudo certinho. Aqui é igual uma firma de trabalho também, tem que ser tudo certinho. Verdadeiro crime organizado é aqui.
If you were to slip up and make a mistake, what do the consequences look like for you?
O erro grande que pode acontecer é roubo. Ou roubar é um erro grande já. Às vezes, vai com Jesus, ou então vai pro hospital todo quebrado.
Looking at Juno's young workers, I worry that any one of them could end up making a mistake in this incredibly dangerous lifestyle. I can see one lad has already been in trouble with the law. It looks like this gentleman here has been arrested. So, what did this gentleman get arrested for?
Isso aqui foi, passa a visão, falou comigo.
Tráfico de droga. 4 anos, saí devendo na cadeia, né? Ser bagulho da doença. Aí fiquei na rua e não voltei mais não, a juíza me deu essa pulseira aí.
Where I was from, yeah, if you got a tag on, you're not going to be operating around a lot of money's worth of drugs, you know, because that's an easy way for the police to track you, come in, and not only capture you, but your whole operation.
Você não chega perto não, aquele não entra não. Tipo assim, tem um acordo, existe acordo entre a gente às vezes de um arrego, mas a gente não é amigo, polícia e a gente não é amigo. Mesmo você pagando pra ter uma suposta paz, eles vêm assim mesmo. Eles são do caramba, mano. Eles estão em contato, eles estão com o tal do X9 aí. E X9 daqui a pouco tudo vai subir por aí sozinho. E vem com o X9 e consegue chegar em cima. Mas antes disso a bala come, entendeu? Muito difícil chegar perto. Toda hora confronto. Aí eles contam a gente, 10 contra 10, 20 contra 20. Assim toda hora. Toda hora.
I can't actually believe that. You know, the police know when they come in here that it's going to be a war. How frequent the bullets fly in the favelas?
3 vezes na semana, às vezes ele fica 4, 5 meses sem vir. Amanhã ele vem de novo, tem que ter mais bala de novo. Toma de 6 horas, 4 horas de bala intenso, troca de tiro. Guerra, troca de tiro gasta muita bala.
Jesus Christ. I've seen a lot of drugs. I've seen a lot of weapons, but it's not about how many drugs there are or how big the weapons are. It's how open they are about dealing or walking around with them. I know that the favelas is a place in poverty. I know that there's not many opportunities here, and I know that selling drugs and being part of cartels can provide them a better life than they would have had before. But I also know that there's so much life-threatening danger that can happen here every single day that I don't really understand or comprehend whether I could deal with that in my mind. The pressure just seems too much for me. Through the people I've met so far, I can see how the cartels are enticing young men into their clutches. But what are the authorities doing to stop the power they have in favelas? I need to understand what law enforcement is doing to tackle organised crime groups, but we keep hitting closed doors when we contact the police for permission to film. In 2020, a Supreme Court ruling suspended police raids in poor favelas unless deemed exceptional and approved by state prosecutors. This was aimed at reducing police-related deaths and human rights abuses during operations. The police have denied systemic issues, often describing incidents as isolated and claiming they are making efforts to address internal corruption through reforms and training. I've arranged a meeting with crime reporter Jadson Marcus to try and find out more about what's going on with policing on the ground.
Tudo bem, Jadson?
Bom, Ashla.
How are we?
Jadson.
For over 15 years, Jadson has been putting his life on the line to let the world know what's going on with young men caught up in drugs and violence in the favelas. His YouTube channel has over 1 million subscribers.
Procura mostrar o que acontece, a realidade que a gente vive no Rio de Janeiro. Uma guerra entre milícia e tráfico.
It sounds absolutely insane. You're a crazy, crazy man.
Então, eu te mostrar um videozinho aqui, para você ter uma ideia. No Morro do Macaco, em Vila Isabel.
You got no helmet on.
Jadson has serious concerns about the ruling that restricts police going into the favelas to tackle organised crime groups.
Infelizmente, assim, tem coisas que a gente tem que citar até. Hoje, se tiver um intenso confronto, a Polícia Militar não pode entrar para intervir nesse confronto se não tiver autorização do Estado, entendeu? Mas entrar. Tem que aguardar. Então, quer dizer, os bandidos hoje, eles que mandam, entendeu?
It looks to me like the authorities aren't getting the right balance between protecting human rights and maintaining security in the favelas. I've been told that Rio's police face a crisis of corruption, that officers are often bribed by criminal groups and frequently outgunned in open conflicts. They are hesitant to enter lawless zones, leaving favelas under cartel and militia control. Law enforcement claim that despite efforts to regain control of favelas through community policing units, they are being frustrated by judicial restrictions. It seems a lack of institutional and political will to address the issues is helping OCGs to expand across Rio. I'm struggling to get my head around everything that's going on in the favelas, and I want to touch base with Adam about my experience. Ad, I swear, you weren't wrong about this place, you know. There's people openly walking around with massive weapons, and they were like soldiers. Yeah. And you go to the favelas, and I speak to these guys, there's some kind of unexplainable vibe. They're clouded by pressure, and they are not complaining or moaning about anything. Yeah. Explain that one to me.
Well, because when everything's not okay, right, and you don't have money, and you don't have safety, and you don't have a government that's going to make sure that your kids and your families have access to education, and no one's making sure that you're able to get a job and that you're gonna have enough money to eat, and you gotta go after that yourself. It creates motivation, right? How do I conquer quality of life, having value, feeling power, feeling important, right? And people choose to go after that in different ways. Some take a life of crime, where they have to carry a gun and carry their territory to feel like they have purpose.
These guys think, when the police come in, I'm gonna shoot at the police. So these guys live openly, walk around with guns, selling drugs, like it's not even a crime. And that's what made it to me like no other place in the world, how open criminality is and how communities don't even necessarily see it as a bad thing.
This is the issue that's facing Rio right now, is like, how does it move forward as a city, and how do we bring in solutions to bring justice and peace when you have three very powerful entities competing for land and disputes in different areas, in different favelas?
Well, what would you say that is? I mean, give me one solution.
We have to hope that the government and the state at some point in time will have the ethics and the values to want to eliminate, the existence of things that cause death and violence in the city.
I've met CB, I've met TCP, but I haven't managed to meet the militia yet. Do you know much about the militia?
What I know about the militias is that, they came originally from ex-police officers and military units. They usually have a perspective that's highly anti-drug. And, up to the end of the day, they're competing, for the same things, which is money and power.
Do you reckon there's any, chance I'd be able to get access to a militia?
I think anything's possible.
Militia groups started appearing in Rio in the early 2000s, Initially formed to combat drug trafficking, these groups have evolved into factions that extort money from the communities they control. Unlike the drug cartels, Rio's militias claim they're keeping order, but in reality, they blur the lines between vigilantes and criminals. They're locked in constant battles with cartels and the police, fighting to protect and expand their turf. Both cartels and militias are thriving in a city where extreme inequality leaves people in the favelas with few options. With little access to education, jobs, or real opportunities, many young men see the criminal world as their only way out. In the past 16 years, militia factions have been growing more than any organised crime group in Rio, tripling their territorial dominance. I need to speak to someone who can give me an insight into how the militias are drawing so many young men into a life of violence and criminality. We're in contact with a witness who has seen the militia's brutality firsthand, but filming with her is going to be difficult.
I'm on the way to meet her mother. She still lives in this heavily controlled militia area, which is extremely dangerous. So for her safety and ours, we're going to get together in an undisclosed location today to have a chat.
This mother, who's bravely agreed to share her story with me, is being supported by her daughter.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm truly grateful and appreciative that you've gave me the time today. Since coming to Brazil and Rio, you know, I've been to a few favelas now, but they've been trafficking-run favelas. Can you tell me what it's like to live in a favela that's controlled by the militia?
Horrível. Uma opressão fora do normal. Quando você é obrigado a pagar taxas, dinheiro que você paga e você não vê um retorno, e você simplesmente tem que pagar e não pode reclamar. No meu condomínio são 25 blocos. Cada um tem 20 apartamentos. Aí você imagina cada um pagando R$80 por mês de condomínio e de luz só para eles, fora o resto do condomínio que você paga. Então imagina por mês quanto que é.
What happens if you don't pay your taxes?
O primeiro mês você é avisado, né, que você não pagou e eles cortam sua água, você fica sem água. O segundo mês, se você não pagar, você leva uma surra com perna de 3. E no terceiro mês, ou seu corpo é sumido, porque eles te matam e ficam com o seu apartamento. Então é dessa forma.
It's completely inhuman. Extorting people, bullying people, harassing people, killing people, just for greed and power, will never ever be right. I know I'm going to touch on a really traumatic subject for both of you, so I apologise in advance, but I'm really compelled to understand what happened to your son.
Ele sumiu no primeiro dia, não voltou para casa, a gente já ficamos preocupados. E 3 dias depois a gente tivemos a notícia real que ele estava morto no alto desse morro. Ele foi morto porque ele transitava entre a comunidade do tráfico e a comunidade das milícias. E mataram ele. A única coisa que eu queria era enterrar o meu filho. Depois de 3 meses e 11 dias, e subimos. Uma das pessoas responsáveis pelo assassinato dele estava lá em cima esperando a gente. E quando a gente chegamos no alto do morro, essa pessoa disse: o seu filho que você quer? E ele assim com os braços, ele está aí. Aí a gente desceu um pouquinho a ribanceira e achamos ele queimado. A roupa dele não queimou toda. Então eu peguei os pedaços de roupa dele que sobrou e botamos dentro da sacola. E numa dessas ele levou um tiro na cabeça. Achamos só os ossos dele. Então a primeira parte que eu peguei dele foi o crânio do meu filho, que não tinha nada. E ele faltava 2 dentes e usava arroz. Então quando eu peguei o crânio, com essa marca de tiro e faltando os 2 dentes. Eu sabia que era meu filho.
My heart really hurts for you, and I'm incredibly sorry. I've never heard a story quite like it, and the impact of hearing it is heartbreaking. I don't understand how you've managed to have the strength and the courage to still be sitting here talking to me. And can I have a hug? Come on, Mama. It was hard being in that room, hearing those stories. And to really understand that that can be the reality of life here in Rio is really sad. I feel for those 2 ladies. And I wanted to do something to be able to help, but there is absolutely nothing I can do. Life is just not fair for some people. Simple as that. After listening to that heartbreaking story, I'm beginning to understand how militia groups brutally control their turf. Extortion is not endemic in trafficking favelas. I want to meet a militia boss to find out why they think it's justifiable to extort vast sums of money from people in the communities they control, and understand how they are sucking young men into violence and criminality in Rio. After some delicate negotiations, I've managed to get access to a leader of a militia, but he will only agree to be filmed under strict conditions. Now, I've heard the militia-run favelas are extremely dangerous. They're extremely controlling, and in some cases, extremely violent. But it's absolutely necessary that I do this today, meet this guy, so I can see how this place operates. The boss is asked to be called Caixinha, and his heavily armed guards are watching our every move. How do you run this place? I'm aware that, you know, in a lot of these favelas, you know, people are taxed, you know, to live, for their water, for their electricity, for their cooking. Do you still run that same kind of operation?
Quase entre 3.000 e pouco a 5.000 moradores. Média de 600 para 700 casas. E pra gente ter um lugar tranquilo, a gente tem que manter. E para manter, todo mundo aqui tem família. Para tu manter uma comunidade, você precisa ter uma segurança. E para ter a segurança, você tem que cobrar. Entendeu? Em todo lugar assim, se o Estado, se o governo desse a segurança, não existiria a milícia. A gente vive uma milícia aqui, raiz, uma milícia que não aceita tráfico, uma milícia que não aceita roubo, abuso com menores. A gente não aceita, mas que a prioridade seja o morador. E se o morador precisa, a gente paga, eles pagam a segurança e a gente paga com a nossa vida. Porque para proteger uma comunidade, quem sai para matar leva o corpo para morrer. Entendeu? Não tem pra onde correr. É uma troca. Entendeu? O Estado não dá proteção, a gente é obrigado a fazer o que eles não fazem.
Who would you say your main threat is? Who are you protecting the people from?
Em geral, as facções, milícias, e seja quem for que tentar vir aqui, eles vão encontrar. Agora, quem vier vai encontrar. Quem vier, pode ter certeza. Só vai abandonar depois de estiver no caixão, ninguém corre. Qualquer facção, seja ela milícia, seja ela tráfico, seja ela polícia, então não pode vir outra.
When your mic pack was getting put on today,
I seen this scar there. And I'm guessing with how colourful your life is, that wasn't from a routine operation. It looked like it could have been from a knife or a gun.
Um cheiro de fuzil. Pegou aqui, saiu aqui, para poder limpar. Mas eu tomei um tiro de fuzil que atravessou. No morro desse, que a gente tomava conta, uma milícia, comando vermelho. Tentou invadir.
Is it very much so live by the sword, die by the sword here?
Sim, é justo.
And in the most respectful way I can ask this, have you ever killed anyone?
Toda a guerra morre gente. E que negócio é o preço, né? Tô vivo. Deus olha, mas a gente tem o livre-arbítrio de se defender. E a morte é o preço da guerra. É uma pergunta complicada de você falar na tela, entendeu? Você falar na tela assumir um crime é complicado, né?
Let's move to the next question.
Yeah. That's fine. That's cool, yeah. It's just so I understand, yeah, it's fine. There's no question about it. The situation in Rio is bad, you know, it's dangerous. In your opinion, will that ever change? Will the wars between the police, the militia, the cartels ever stop?
Essa possibilidade, hoje, é zero. Se eu falar hoje, onde tem poder, não tem união. Onde tem poder, a cobiça, a ganância, sempre alguém vai querer ser mais do que alguém.
Spending time with Kishinya really drives home how ruthless the bosses of Rio's organised crime groups, whether militias or drug cartels, must be to defend their territory and hold on to power. It's frightening to think about how this cycle of violence will continue, and the young guys that have no choice but to navigate this dangerous world. It's my last day in Rio, and Adam has one last thing to show me before I leave. I'm back in Vidigal, where his organisation, Favela Inc., helps young men get out of poverty and stay away from crime. Today he's invited me to take part in one of his initiatives.
Yo!
What's up, Don?
Good to see you again, brother.
Hey, man. Welcome back. Now I want to show you guys the cocktail school that we have here that's training youth from the favela and helping them get jobs so that they can have a better life. You want to check it out?
Mate, that seems right up my street. I'm all for, you know, seeing projects that can have a positive impact on people, and especially when they involve alcohol.
Yeah.
I feel like I need
Yeah,
that.
let's go.
Do we get
Let's
to
go.
try as well?
Of course, of course.
Okay,
of course.
awesome.
Cachaça, whiskey, you know, you're gonna have to choose.
Hey, tudo bem?
This is Anderson.
Lovely to meet you.
This guy, Hugo, he's born and raised in the favela, and he's one of the students in the school. I think he wants to invite you to join him in the school so you can learn a little about what they do and learn to make a drink with the professor himself.
Vamos fazer aqui com o Hugo o coquetel especial que ele é fera em fazer, que é o Negroni. Negroni?
Yeah.
You know?
Negroni. Bartending is a great skill for young men like Hugo in a city like Rio, one of the top tourist destinations in the world. Can you tell me a little bit about your life and how you ended up here?
Eu sou nascido e criado aqui e graças a Deus a gente tem a minha mãe e minha avó, tem a casinha própria, a gente tem a nossa casa própria. Antigamente, alguns anos atrás na minha vida, eu poderia, esse exato momento, eu poderia estar em Boca de Fumo, fazendo avião para Boca, eu podia estar fazendo diversas coisas que não seriam muito boas, sabe? O governo, tudo aquilo que nos rodeia, diversos fatores também não cooperam para que o ensino, oportunidades como essa que eu tive aqui, que eu estou tendo aqui, cheguem até a favela. Hoje em dia, através de ONGs tipo a Favela Inc., tipo Brota Vidigal, através de também projetos como o do Anderson que ele traz, tá melhorando bastante.
I've always dreamt of coming to Brazil, and it didn't disappoint. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. However, I didn't realise the extreme danger that's here and some of the conditions that people have to live and survive in on a day-to-day basis, and I sympathise with that and have compassion for that. but it also created an amazing resilience amongst the people.
This is our life. On keep surviving and be the better to yourself. To can be better to the all things around us.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed to receive him.
Do you know, if I can say one thing to you, yeah, you know, you've already made the hardest step that you're ever going to make. That's already been done by being here and doing what you're doing. And I had to come here to try and put myself in the young men's shoes that live here in the favelas, to think, you know, is it possible for them to escape the grasps of the trafficking, of the militia, and maybe whether I could do it. And I feel truly blessed after my experience. On my final day, I can meet someone like you who is actually doing it.
You got this. You got this, bro. You got this, bro. Listen. You have a couple of people that believe in you, man. And you're going to something great, man.
Rio de Janeiro is a city of extremes. Stunningly beautiful and deeply dangerous. It's a lawless, relentless environment where survival seems like the only option. I came here to understand what life is like for young men in communities controlled by organised crime groups, responsible for so much death and destruction in the favelas. I think with a failing policing system and little government support in poor favelas, the constant battle against lawlessness is overwhelming. And it's easy to see why so many young guys get trapped in a cycle of drugs and violence. But meeting people like Hugo has shown me there is hope.
Negroni.
Saúde.
Saúde.
Coquetel Negroni.
If I'd grown up here, I'd like to believe I'd avoid the darker paths. Not because it's easy, but because I believe there's a beauty and a sparkle here that is worth fighting for. And I think a lot of young men that live here could do the same. It's not about denying the challenges. It's about recognizing the power of choice, even in the hardest situations. Rio taught me that beauty and chaos can coexist. And it's in this friction where life feels the most real. So for that, I'll be forever grateful for this city, the favelas, and its people. Obrigado.